Hey guys, welcome to week 2. This will be our lecture. Our lecture will focus on Git. Our actual assignment is on other stuff, but we have labs that pertain to that. So I thought this is good to focus on this because it's important for this week's chapter. Before we get into Git, I have a bunch of URLs and there's a link out on the tutorial. So I would say when you start learning Git, start with these terminal basic commands, video 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are important. I wouldn't worry about this because this relies on something else, but I did put, there's some other miscellaneous videos out here that does certain things. Some of it's archaic, that does not deal with us. So anything with TFS, ignore, because that doesn't deal with what we're trying to do. But the Git Push and Pull can help. But nonetheless, there's another video that's not added in here, and it's a video that I did in class probably last semester or last year or whatever, that walks through on how to do Git stuff. But if you have questions, obviously set up an appointment with me and we'll go through it. It's, you know, it is what it is. It could be a difficult task at first. But anyways, so getting to the lecture, so Git and JS. So we'll talk about Git, we'll talk about GitHub. I guess I do talk about conditional statements, I can't even talk. Concatenating strings, tongue twister for me, prompts, and comparison operators. All right, so what is source control? Source control is it's a way to keep your source code in a library per se and a safe location. It's like having a lockbox that has your maybe special items, your driver's license, or maybe your passport, or maybe some cash that you have laying around the house, something like that. But excuse me. Source control is a way to manage your source code and in different levels. So component software configuration management version, basically what I mentioned. It's a way to save your code. So if you lost it, you can always rely back on that source code. In some source control systems, TFS, which is a Team Foundation server, but now it used to be just directly TFS, but now they've consolidated with another platform called DevOps, which is basically an Azure product. So they consolidate everything, and that's how things change. So another one is Mercurial, Subversion, which is a very old one, and then Git. And the one that we're using is Git, and that is the popular one, probably the most popular one. So what is Git? Well, it's spelled G-I-T, just remember that. Concepts of Git is it keeps track of code history, takes snapshots of your files. You decide when to take a snapshot by making a commit. A commit is when it's like, back in the day when I was a young lad, you went to the video store and rented a movie. And so when you would rent a movie, by, saying, hey, you know what, I agree that I'll bring this back within 24 hours. Here's my $3 and blah. So that's a commitment, and that's what you're doing here. You can visit any snapshot at any time. You can stage files before committing. So what type of editors that we have? So here's the thing about this is there are GUI windows out there that you can use to do this. But in my class, we will not use a GUI window. I will know that if you use a GUI window, because if it messes up, trust me, the only way to fix it is going back to the editor. So if you're using a Windows PC, you'll be using something called Git Bash. So when you install Git, so for example, when you go out to install it, you would actually just come out to Google, type in Git. You would probably see this right here. And then as you see, I'm using a Mac, so I don't need to download it. I'll explain it in a second here. But if you're using a PC, it'll say Windows. So I'll click on here, install it. And then what you'll do is you'll get something called Git Bash for Windows. And let me see if I get a image of what it looks like. Image. Yeah, so the window looks something like this right here, like this window over here. It'll look like that. That's what you'll use in order to. So you'll go to your run prompt. You'll type in git bash. It'll bring up that window. If you're using a Mac, well, you don't have to worry about that. You'll use something called terminal. So you'll come up to the magnifying glass and type in terminal. So like I already have a window opened up, so I would just do new window. And there you go. I have a terminal, and this is what I use. Git's already installed. So if you have a Mac, you're good. Source tree, like I said, that's a one of those GUIs that you could use, but we're not going to use that. Commands. So going back to that real quick, go in these videos 1 through 4. We'll walk you through all the commands here. But what I did is I created this like cheat sheet, which are the more popular ones that you'll use. Those terminal basics are commands that you can use to get to certain locations. So I'll let you know that all the commands are based off of Linux. So if you've never heard of Linux, it's an operating system. All Mac computers have Linux on the background. Windows typically have something called DOS, which is a command prompt developed by Microsoft, but they also have something called PowerShell, which uses Linux commands. But in this class, if you're using git bash or terminal, it'll base off of Unix commands. So anyways, so git init, that initializes the local Git repository. Now, if you go directly out and do, so like the first step, like if you go out to, you know what, I'll actually walk you through a step on here, kind of make this as simple as possible. So git initialize, talked about that. Git add, it's a way to add files to your index, and there's two ways. You could do git add file name, or you could do git add dot. What's the difference? File only adds an individual file. If you use a dot, it adds everything. And that's kind of tricky. It depends on what you want to do. We'll explain that later. Git status tells you your status, whether your items are staged or unstaged. No matter which environment you're using, they're color coordinated. So green means that they're staged, red means they're unstaged. And unstaged also means that there's been changes that have been made, and that means that those changes need to be pushed. Commit is what I mentioned earlier. Push is when you're ready to push it from branch to branch. We'll talk about branches in a minute as well. And then pull is when you want to get the latest and greatest. But since you're probably only, in this case, you probably won't have to do the pull yet. Okay. So what is a branch? It's a location where, I'm not sure if I even talk about it. I'm just kind of scrolling through to see what I had. Okay, so I don't talk about it, so that's good. So what is a branch? So I kind of bring up something here where I could type. So let me just pull up docs and I could type in something. All right, so a branch is a location. Oops, nope. So think of it as a location where your code is stored. So for example, I'll give you an example. So let's do a real live example. So let's go to maps. Let's see here. I'm gonna pull up Google Maps in a second. I'm gonna pull up Pittsburgh. Oops. All right. So here's Pittsburgh, PA. So let's pull up parking lots. I'm not sure if this will work, but we'll try. All right, perfect. It does. So you see all these different parking lots. Think about these being different branches. So we have branch 1 over here, which is Pittsburgh Authority. We have branch number 2, which is the Smithfield Garage. We have branch number 3, which is the Theater Square Garage. You see what I mean? All these different garages can be considered branches. And it's just a location where your data is stored. So for example, let's say a Smithfield Street Bridge or Smithfield Garage. Let's say that when you drive in the morning and you drive mom and dad's cars, you park it at that location because it's a more secure. I'm not saying it is secured, but we'll say it's a more secure parking garage. But let's say that you bring your vehicle in, you want to save a couple bucks because mom and dad's not paying for it, and you're like, I'll park down in a strip district. It's less secure, but it's cheaper. The branches are not exactly the price. There's no price point on it, but it's a location. So branching is good when you have multiple people on a single project where you are trying to work on something and everyone has their own branch. But when it's just you, it's fine. And in this class, I'm not going to have you do branch after branch because to me, just starting off, it's just too confusing. We'll start off with something called the master branch. And actually, as of recently, that had changed. The master branch used to always be the main branch. It was the branch that is like the default branch. But somewhere along the lines, they changed it and made it something called the main branch. So I'm not sure when that changed. And this is at least in GitHub. I'm sure that in GitLab and other ones, they still use master. So it's just somebody playing a different game. But that's fine. Anyways, that's our branches. So before we get into going back and talking about other stuff, let me get and set up a environment and show you what I mean. So the first thing that you need to do here is I'm going to do it incognito mode so you see what it looks like. So I'm going to do GitHub. So you want to go to github.com. Don't do that because then all right, there we go. Once I go to mine. All right, so the first thing you want to do, if you don't have an account, sign up, create an account, your name, make sure the email address is your Point Park email address. And because once you get to advanced programming, you'll have a group project and you'll have to share that. And trust me, it'll make more sense at that time. So go ahead and complete this and set up an account. When you have an account, like mine is this one for Point Park, you'll come and set up a new repository. So I'm going to walk you through that real quick because I think in my video I don't really walk through on how to set up a new branch. I kind of just walk through and show you some basic information. I've made so many videos about this Git thing and sometimes I miss certain points. So I think this is important to walk through this part. So give me a second here. All right. What is going on? My chair is acting up. All right, so first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to come over here and click on this plus, and I'm going to choose new repository. So you give it some type of unique name, whatever you want to call it. So I'll call this one, let's say I'm building an application. This application I'm building is, I don't know what I'm building. I'll just say my crazy new app. Pretty cool. So you have the option of making it public or private. It depends on if it's something that you're working on, some code that you don't want people to know, then obviously you make it public or private. If it's something else, blah blah blah. I'm gonna keep it public because I don't really care. Optional. This is only for a tutorial. You'll want to put an add readme file, and later on we'll show you things that you could do with it that you'll do in this class. But for now, let's not worry about it. So I think we do in this class. I can't remember offhand. And just click create repository. And perfect. So now we have our new crazy app. As you see here now, it's called main instead of the other branches. It used to be master, but we talked about that. So we'll keep it on a main branch. No big deal. So what we need to do is actually have some code to check in. So I'm going to create a just a dummy file just to show you what we could do. So let's open up Visual Studio. All right, let's do this. Let's create a new file. So let's do add folder to workspace, and I need to have a workspace. So let's see here. Let's go to documents. Let's go to apps. Let's create a new folder called my crazy new app, and I'll just hit add. So what that does is it adds to that location, and what I'm gonna do is create a new file, and I will just call it start.js. Perfect. So now we have this script file here. That's just something. Think what we could call it. Let's just start. So let's see here. All right. So let's. I don't know. We could just call it anything. It could be just a sample thing. So we could say, let's put hashtag here. Oops. Hold on. All right. What am I doing? All right, so this is a tutorial, and so we could put console.log, print this statement. Simple, nothing crazy. If I click X, it'll save it automatically. At least I think so. Okay, cool, perfect. So now I want to go to that location where it's at on my desktop. So I'll reveal Finder so that I could pull it up, and it is here somewhere. Well, I was hoping it had been in order, but whatever. That's fine. So it's right here. All right. So let's do first things first. So I'll pull up my terminal, as I mentioned, and I'm going to make this bigger so we can see it. Perfect. So first things first, I need to have a location where, so you have a location where your source code's at, but you have to have a location where you want your Git to be at. So I want it to be in that same folder. So if you do pwd Paul William David, shows you your current location, which is there. So I want to go to documents, and I want to go to apps, and I want to go to my crazy new app. You'll learn all this in terminal mode, so I'm not going to walk through and tell you what I'm doing, but cd means change directory. But if you watch the terminal videos, it'll walk you through all this stuff. So this video is just to show you. So we have that there. So what I'm going to do is actually go back a thing here. And, oh, shoot. I know what we need to do. We're going to move that in there. So let's leave it like that. All right. So next thing that we need to do is go to our repository. So we need to find our repository. So click on code. Don't worry about SSH and Git Club. You'll learn about GitHub. You'll learn about this stuff in advanced programming. For now, just copy this code here, and then go to your terminal, or if you're using Git Bash, and you're going to type in these commands. So you're going to type in Git Clone, and then paste in that URL just like that, and hit enter. And what it's doing is it's going over there and copying those contents of those files and bringing it over. So now if I come out to here, you'll see I have my crazy app, and I have this README file, which is, you see what it did here. If you go out to this page, it just pulled over that file. Perfect, right? So, so what we need to do is go back to terminal. I'm going to show you something. All right, so we're going to clear this. And now we have the start.js and the my crazy new app. Now the thing is, my crazy new app is the name of the repository out here. So any file in here will show as if it's staged or unstaged. So I'm going to show you something. If I cd into my crazy new app, oops, and if I type in git status, that was one of the commands on here that we went through, you'll see that it says your branch is up to date, because we didn't make any changes to that code, and there's nothing different. But here's what is different is we can move that file over, that start.js over to here. Two different ways you can move it. You could just go out to the desktop and copy and paste it over there. That's probably the easiest way, if you want to do it that way. So, oops, let me go back to documents. I lost it somewhere. Let's see here. My crazy new app, buddy, where you at? Oh my gosh. The snake would have bit me, which is kind of a funny story. In the summertime, there was a snake in my barn, and I went to grab something, grabbed it, took it out, whatever. Went about my business. My wife went up there, and she said, "Is there any snakes in there?" I go, "No." I'd say 20 seconds later, I heard her scream. I go, "What?" She goes, "There's a snake up there." I'm like, "What?" So I walk out and look, and boom, there's a snake there. So I had to touch the snake and go on about my business, didn't even see it. I was like, Jesus. All right. So anyways, I could easily just copy and move this stuff over here, and it'll be in here like this. I could just, boom, it's in there. But I'm going to take it and move it outside of it on purpose. Oops. All right, so, oh, geez, what happened? Paste it here. I'm just show you something here. Delete it. So that's one way that you can do it. So, but I want to show you the other way that I would like you to learn how to do it. So CD out. And so if we go into my crazy new app, you see it's not in there. So if I do a git status, it shouldn't, well, it did recognize, you see the DS store, that's basically like a cache memory. So it does recognize something happened, but that's fine. No harm, no foul. So now what I'll do is I'll move it in there. If I type in the word MB for move, type in start.js, and that's the file I want to move, and now I want to move it to this location. Now it does that. If I do a clear, you don't see it out there anymore. So if I CD into my crazy new app, I do an LS, there it is. Make it bigger. So my start.js is in there. Now if I do a git status, look at that. Start.js, the DS store, I'm not worried about. So if you go back to the lecture, the next thing to do is an add. Actually, that's the next thing you want to do. So I told you could do git add the name of the file, like start.js, just like that. Or you could do a period, which adds everything. The only reason you don't want to add everything is, let's say that we had another one called end.js. We weren't ready to check it in and move it into the repository because we're still coding it and testing it. So we leave it alone. But in this case, don't care. But you know what? We don't want to put that DS store in there because it doesn't make a difference. So I'm just going to type in start.js. That's it. Now, if I do a git status, it should be green. If it's not green, then you have a problem. Okay. So we know it's green. So we're good. So the next thing that we want to do is that commit. So you're going to type in git commit space -m for message space double quotation mark, and you'll put a message of what it is. Adding my new file and a double quotation. Hit enter, and you'll see here it creates a commit ID, which a commit ID is a lot more characters, but this is the beginning of it. It says add my new file, one file change, 2 insertions. That means 2 lines of code, which is 1 and 2. Well, actually it's 1 and 2 there. Okay. So now we did so the last thing we have to do, because if we go out to the repo, I have too many windows open here. It's just like when I'm at work. All right. So if I come out here and refresh, nothing's out there. Nothing's been out there yet. You know why? Because we have to do something called a push. And that is also listed in the command here, a push. All right. So now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do git origin. Origin means the original location, which is the remote location that we're connected to, and type in push. All right. Well, that's new. I think there's something new. So let's type in git push. All right, so you can't type in origin anymore because the reason being is before when it was master branch, you had to, but since it's the main, you don't have to. So you could just type in Git Push. So that's something new. Anyway, so if you watch my old videos, you'll see that. Anyways, it said that it added all this stuff, mumbo jumbo stuff. So now what I could do is I could go back out to GitHub here. Boom, look at that, my start files here. I could click on start, adds my stuff here. I could come out to the main file. I could look if I had, well, we're not doing issues and pull requests. None of that stuff because that's all more advanced programming. But nonetheless, you can see 2 minutes ago, if I click on 2 minutes ago, green shows I added some new code. So this is cool. So let me show you how to do something else real quick. All right, so let's go in here and say we want to edit it from here directly. Click the edit file. And let's say that we want to add another file and say console.log testing the code. All right, so then I'll come down here and say add a new line of code from GitHub directly to test out the push statement. What's the statement lets me do it? All right, cool. So now, where are we at? All right. So I wanted to show you something else because we're going to do something here. So if we type in git branch -a, it shows me what branch I'm on. So I'm on the head branch. If I type in git branch -r, oops, not that one. Git branch, it'll show me I'm on the main branch. So what was I gonna do? All right, so this is what I want to do. So as we know, our file start.js is what it is. So now we need to do a git pull. So let's do a git pull. And so as you see here, it says, oh, there was 3 more lines of code added. So what we could do here is a couple things. Let's go out to our, well, let's just pull it up in a code. Where the heck is my Visual Studio at? All right, there it is. There it is, look at that. It updated automatically, boom. That is how you use Git, and that's all you have to do this week. If you actually go out to the chapter somewhere, I have it, but let's pull it up. So we got the courses, we got to Introduction to Programming right here. We got the module 2. We go out to project. Install your Nginx. So make sure you do have it installed. If not, just watch the video down here, which sets you up. It shows you how to do FileZilla if you don't have that. Create a JavaScript HTML page. So basically it should be your location. So whatever your ID is, like mine's jseaman.pointpark.edu, it pulls up my URL. So that's what I'm looking for you to do. Create a file called index.html on your local drive. So all you're going to do basically in a nutshell, you're going to come out to your repository. You're going to create a new file called index.html. Simple stuff, not too complex. And then you're going to create a script that prompts the person to input your favorite sport, movie, or TV show, which once you watch the video on how to do that, which is, where is that at? If you come out to module 2 here, come down to lab and look on JavaScript prompts, it'll take you out, watch a video, and show you how to do it. Now I have it in Atom because it happened before. I didn't create a new video for Visual Studio. It's not necessary. The code does the same thing. So watch how to do that, and boom, that's all. So you'll have that code. You'll have that code for the prompts. Output your favorite sport. This is actually a pretty good, easy assignment this week. Go to your GitHub account, create your repository, put module 2 in there. You're just doing one thing. Most part is you're setting up your stuff, and then you have to use FileZilla. But there's tutorials on everything. So if you follow everything to the T, you should not have a problem. But if you do have a problem, this is what I suggest. Come out here and set up an appointment with me. I talked about this before. Just find Professor Seaman. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays are days I do appointments. If there's a reason, I'll try to make an exception. But if it's after those days, but for the most part, Friday through Sunday, I don't do. That's outside of my hours. That's my time with my family, and so I need to keep that. So hit those 3 days, and I'm available. So that's how I can help you out. Anyways, getting back to the lecture, that's how you do Git. I think you guys should be awesome right now with this. You should be better than I am, and that's what we want. And let's go back to the lecture. Let's see where we're at with this. We're at 30 minutes. Awesome. All right, so what to learn more? So this is all I just talked about. All right, so concatenating text strings. So it's a string object in JavaScript for manipulating text and characters. It can be used to process names, addresses, phone numbers, serial numbers, etc. So var, which is a variable, which we've talked about at this point. First name is a name of variable, and you assign a name. So in this case, I assign it to Kit. Does anyone know who Kit Harington is? Go to IMDb, and you'll find out that he's maybe the king of the north. So then, if you're using document.write, what that is it's a way to display it on the screen if you were doing it in HTML versus using console and doing console.log. So document.write, first name plus last name. Watch the video on how to do this. I'll walk you through everything. If statement, conditional statement are used to perform different actions based on different conditions. So if equals specifies a block of code to be executed, if the condition is true, it will, else it will be false, or else it will go to a default thing. So you'll have an if condition, you'll use a curly brace, left means the beginning, right means the end. But in this case right here, we have if the condition happens inside the parentheses, you have something happen here. So you could say if vehicle equals, let's say if lottery number equals 4, else, and if it say it equals 5, what it'll do is we'll come down to this block of code and see if there's a default. So let's say if we had equals 6 and it doesn't equal 6, then it would just end, or else it would and do something. So hopefully it makes sense. Method for prompts. So in this case right here, we do describe a variable called person. We use the prompt, which is a function, and within the function we pass in a request. And in this case right here, we're using a what is your name? You can make it anything. So if you did what is your favorite movie, you'd put that right there. And what would happen is whatever you entered in, this person, whatever that variable name that you use, would capture that value and store it. Okay? So then we could say, hey, variable answer equals prompt person. So what was the function and what was the value that was captured? Then we could use the alert, which is another function, which pops up an alert and says your name is blah, blah, blah. Or you could do document.write, or you could do console.log. Comparison operator. This one right here is a method that allows you to compare multiple objects. So we declare run game and say it equals true. And then we say if it does not equal true, then game is over. So it's a way to compare different operators. So the lecture itself is pretty small, but I think the lab is more important because it goes into greater detail and you're actually using the source code. So that is it for this week. Well, that's a different class there. So let's go back to here. Let's go back in time. Review this real quick, what you have to do this week. Learning resources, activities. There's your module number 2, programming, which is going through, doing your code, big, awesome. Your project that we talked about, and then your lab, and you're good to go. Thank you for watching. Any questions, reach out to me. Have a great day.